warming up before you run in the winter. We all know that warming up is a crucial part of any activity or exercise that you may do. And in the winter, it's actually more important than it is in the spring or, say, the summer or even early fall. Because your muscles are tighter in the cold, it's harder to get loosened up and whatnot. So what I recommend is before you go out, actually do your stretches, do a little bit of warm up inside your house before you take one foot outside. Even maybe get on the treadmill a little bit. You know, you might have a 3-4 mile run today, but maybe do a couple of tenths on the treadmill just to get the blood flowing, your body loose, and your body temperature risen a little bit. It helps with a lot of things, but once you step outside, again, it's so much harder to loosen up, you know, get your muscles tense. And then once you're outside, you're already fighting the cold. So you want to be warmed up before you go out there so you're not fighting the cold and trying to loosen up your muscles at the same time. A little trick is if you're going to go travel somewhere maybe 20-30 minutes away, maybe you're going to travel to go do a group run or a different trail that's not right outside your house. Just turn the heat up a little bit more and keep it on your legs. Put it on the leg setting. I find that if you have it on the leg setting, it works a lot better than, you know, the normal vent and legs. Obviously, your legs are what you're going to be using the most, so you want to have the heat on there so after you do your stretches inside before you leave the house, it keeps them more loose and ready to go. So you can almost basically jump outside once you arrive wherever you're going, and you only have to do like maybe a 20-30 second little jog or a little stretch out before you can actually start running, maybe full tilt or whatnot. Another thing I noticed is with the cold air in the winter months, it's, you know, we all know it's harder to breathe. Air in the winter is a lot denser. We'll just say it's a 2-to-1 ratio. As the air gets colder, it gets denser. So once that air hits your lungs, it expands a lot bigger. So we'll just call it the 2-to-1. So like your normal breath might be the size of a fist, but once it hits your lungs, it expands after it warms up. It's the size of 2 fists. So you get that burning sensation down in your chest, and you start getting that dry air, coughing, and then, you know, miserableness. Anyhow, when you warm up a little bit beforehand, you get your throat, your mouth and stuff a little bit warmer, so then it heats the air the whole way down. Plus, it heats the air so it doesn't dry out your throat as much or your mouth. Now, another little trick that I noticed, I've been using retainers a little bit, you know, trying to fix my teeth, but I noticed the retainers, if I keep them in when I'm doing a winter run, keep my teeth a lot more warm. You know, sometimes if you got sensitive teeth, that cold air just like makes them cold and get that little like chattery, or just in general it makes them hurt. So if you get like a thin mouthpiece, you know, you don't need some big like football thing type thing, but if you get like a little mouthpiece or like a fake retainer type thing, you'll be able to keep your mouth a little bit warmer too, in your teeth if you have sensitive teeth. The key here is just warming up beforehand so you're not hurting yourself. In the winter, you're more prone to get a little stupid injury, not just from slipping on the ice or whatnot, but from not loosening up properly because your muscles are so stiff and tight. So warming up before you go out, what I'm saying is warm up before you go, do it inside a little bit, or, you know, keep your body warm, and then once you do arrive somewhere, you can just jump out and do your stretches real quick. I mean, because you want your core as warm as possible before you start. Because what happens is, once you start getting cold, the blood gets pulled from your fingers and up your arms, and then same with your feet. That's why you notice them getting the cold the quickest. So if you keep your core warm, it allows your body to keep the blood and the flow out towards your fingers and your toes, so that way you don't get cold as much. That's another key reason why you want to warm up before you go out and you start doing exercise. Because once you're outside, you know, your fingers are going to start to get cold because your core, your body wants to keep your core warm over everything else, but, well, maybe your brain a little bit. So it's going to start pulling it in immediately once you hit out in the cold air. We'll just say this past weekend around my house, it was in single digits. Even the race I did this weekend, it was in the single digits. So I had to make sure I was warmed up beforehand. And I noticed, since I had an hour drive, as soon as I step outside, the air hit my fingers. They started getting cold and cold because it hit my chest as well. So having the heat on a little bit, and then stretching right away, and then getting back in the vehicle after registration kept my core warm, so it allowed my body to keep the flow to my fingers and my toes. So those are some stupid little tricks that I wanted to share with you, because I know people have been asking what I do before I go out in the cold, because I'm always running outside. I might do a treadmill 2 or 3 days a week just because I'm crashing after work, but otherwise I'm outside running, and they wanted to know what I do, and I figured I'd tell you is what I do is I stretch before I go out, make sure I'm loose. You know, I might hit a tenth or two on the treadmill before I go out, just to make sure my core's warmed, my body's loosened, and my throat and my mouth are a little bit warm, so that way I have an easier time just starting as I get out the door.